See if more people show up. Okay, so welcome Gladys and Glad McCarthy, and it's Gladys, right? That's your full name, isn't it? I see Glad, but I like that. And Trudy. And so let me go into full screen mode and share my screen. I don't know, have you ladies attended this before? I've done this once before.
No, not this.
No. Okay, why? That's not what I want. Here we go. Um, history edit. Oh, gosh. Okay, here we go. Okay, so everyone can see my screen?
Yep.
All
Good.
right, awesome. Okay. All right, so welcome to the Uncovering the Brilliance of You webinar. My name is Tanya Gonzalez Ortega, and we're just going to go through these slides. And basically, you know, my desire is to help women really reclaim their purpose and their empowerment, because I think that as women, over many years of having the expectation of being the caregivers and being pleasing and bending over backwards, right? Like that's just kind of how, I mean, I remember that I mean, my mother was a Southern woman from Texas, and that was always kind of ingrained in me. Like, you put yourself last, you don't put yourself first, you always, yeah, you're always doing what you think other people want of you. And when you do a lifetime of that, it's really detrimental, I find, especially when it comes to wanting to be your authentic self. And so my desire, my passion is to help women step into their own gifts and their purpose. And so I'm going to talk about how family and systemic constellations can shift your experience in life and give you a broader perspective, and actually bring actual healing at this level of the soul. So, if you're a woman over 40 who's spent her life tending to her children or their partner, or working a job that isn't fulfilling, or the marriage has become lackluster and you're wanting to find true connection, you're ready to heal core wounds and negative patterns that have been keeping you back from really experiencing your full potential self. And maybe you've tried different things and they just haven't worked, maybe therapy or different programs or coaches, and they didn't really deliver what you were looking for. So I'm just going to kind of go over 5 steps. Like if I were to quantify it into these next categories, and say there's 5 steps to really embody your authentic self and create a life that reflects your purpose, passion, and joy. So I'm going to share with you why so many women end up finding themselves at a dead end in life, and how inherited negative patterns are running the show, creating disconnection. A lot of these patterns live in the subconscious, and we're not even aware of them actually directing our choices and our behavior. And you'll stop wondering if it's possible for you to heal the wounds you've been carrying around for decades and actually begin to heal. And I'll show you why connecting to your true authentic self is all you need to create a resonant and vibrant life, and it can be effortless. So I'm going to show you the healing processes I take my clients through to experience next level healing and growth. And I know you, Gladys and Trudy, have worked with me, and so you're pretty familiar with the process already. Um, but here's the thing: it's like women over 40 are at and older are at a point in their life, and I know I've experienced this, where you really begin to realize that life is short, it's limited, right? And so we're at a choice point of, okay, do I want to continue in my same patterns, or do I want to create something else? And many women might find themselves thinking like, "Oh, this is my last chance," um, which isn't true. You can always, it's never too late to change or to grow or transform. But I think what triggers a lot of women is that they feel this like, oh, this is my last chance to create something meaningful, or um, create a stronger foundation for what I want to bring into the world as far as my purpose. Um, and I have found too that many women are afraid to invest them in themselves, mostly because either they're afraid of what others might think, like their partner or even their children, right? Like, oh, what would they think of me if I were to actually become somebody different? So they, hold back. Self-doubt gets in the way, fear gets in the way. Um, but in order to really create that vision, you've got to have a strong vision and a strong desire of what is possible. And, I believe that there are a lot of people that can um, create the life that they want on their own, right? If you have the willpower and the determination. But having a proper mentor or coach with expertise can help speed up the process. And I can say for myself, I've received mentorship and coaching from some amazing women and healers in my life, and I know that it always feels so, I don't know, nourishing, and um, creates this container of safety to allow yourself to really process the deeper stuff that needs to be processed. Okay. So this slide is here for if there were a lot of people here. Anyway, the next, you want to pay attention here and give me all of your attention to get the most out of this. Um, so question is, does this sound familiar? That no matter what you have tried, that maybe nothing has really worked. Maybe you're noticing, like, you find yourself in those situations where somebody asks you something they want or need something of you, and you're saying yes before you've even like check in with yourself, and you're watching yourself do these things when you really deep inside want to say no, and then suddenly you say yes, and it's out there and you're just like, oh my gosh, why did I say that, right? Like, that keeps happening. um, or you wake up and you just feel like my life is passing me by, and I know I need to change, but I don't know, I have no idea where to start. Like, it just seems overwhelming. And there's just so much information out there. I know that I get overwhelmed by so much information. Um, and it can be really distracting and disorienting to the point where you just like, ugh, I don't even want to listen to anyone or anything anymore, right? Um, Maybe you find yourself like, I'm so tired of not having enough time for myself. Again, this goes back to putting yourself last. You struggle with staying focused on your own desires. Um, and all of us carry trauma. And sometimes many of us feel like that I have trauma and that's it. That's just how life is. And things happen to me and that's just the way it goes. And I can't overcome it, which is not true. All right. So the question that I like to, have women imagine for a moment is like, what would happen if you could actually have real time and space to really go deep within and to have someone there to hold the container for you, to hold a mirror up for you to reflect back to your own truth. We're human beings are wired in a way that the most um, how do I say, the most growth that happens is when we are relating to one another, or we're sharing with one another. We have these mirror neurons in our brain that if we're not interacting with someone face to face, it's actually really difficult to sometimes to process some of the things that we need to process. Um, and imagining, really receiving deep soul level healing, be encouraged to start saying yes to what you love, rebuild your confidence and inner knowing, and give yourself permission to really fully shine and reclaim your passion and joy. All right. So, once you actually apply the things that I'm going to share, at some point you'll look back at a time when really feeling good and in love with yourself felt like a pipe dream with a smile and a laugh because you will have achieved it. You'll know exactly what's been holding you back, and you'll be able to release it forever. And you'll never second guess yourself because you finally fully receive your purpose and who you really are. And that's really, really so important. Once that purpose is really anchored in, there's no more second guessing. And that commitment is finally there. There's no more wavering. You'll finally be excited about your life because you'll be taking steps to the things that you need to do to start being in your own flow. Your own well being will deepen and expand, and thereby expand everything else in your life, your relationships, your ability to attract abundance, and more importantly, inner peace. Because the reality is, our life is being created by who we're being more than what we're trying to actually, rather than doing. And that's where people kind of get stuck, as they think, oh, if I just do more, um, then things will start to click into place. And I believe that there's a different way to create the life that you really, really want. It's not about chasing after, but actually embodying, being the embodiment of who you really are. And so when you do this deep inner work, then who you are actually changes energetically, and then it actually your relationships just naturally start to change without you necessarily even having to quote unquote do something. It's just things just start to happen. And then your trust and faith in yourself and the universe will deepen, and you realize that all the answers are truly within. Okay. So just to introduce myself, I graduated. So, I was definitely the overachiever. Things came really easily to me when it came to schooling and being successful and achieving. So I graduated top of my class from UCLA. I became a certified yoga instructor. I'm trained in multidimensional energy healing and family constellations. I have 20 plus years of experience in providing energy healing. I'm an artist, Waldorf educator, mom of two boys. I've been married for 14 years, and I've spent a lifetime being a spiritual seeker. I've spent time with renowned spiritual healers and leaders, quite a few, well, three in particular, sages from India, like Amaji, Kronamayi, Mother Mira. Um, I got to meet and sit with Adyashanti, the Zen master. And anyway, so I've just, I've had um, a lot of learning over the years. But it wasn't always like this. There was a time in my life where I definitely hit rock bottom, and it was because, and this happened primarily by the time I was in my 20s. I went through a serious health crisis. So I was sexually molested from the age of 3 to 8 by two caregivers, and um, my I lived in a dysfunctional family, like most people. I know very few people that actually have, a happy, healthy family um, dynamic. So that's not. I'm no stranger to that either. But I went through a serious health crisis where all of my achievements amounted to nothing, and I was severely depressed. I was suicidal. Um, and I went through that time, I actually went through quite an awakening. It was a really deep spiritual crisis that I came out of, but I still had many other challenges that came into my life. I was a single mom when I was 28, and at 32, I had to declare bankruptcy. So, my life, even though um, I thought I was doing all the right things, obviously there were these much deeper issues and traumas that I wasn't facing and that were running my life. They were, leading me into situations. And I can say this honestly, that a lot of the situations that I ended up in is because I didn't know how to say no. And and so yeah, it's taken me a really, really long time to do the inner work of like, well, why is that? Where along the way did I learn that that was the way to be, right? And anyway, I was definitely had a lot of fear of just even establishing boundaries. So through a lot of the work, and it's continuous, there's always more and more layers. So the first key is to identify what is not working in your life. And so when I work with clients and I do family constellations or systemic constellations work, or even the energy healing, it's really important to show up with, okay, well, what is, and be honest, like what isn't working. Because if there isn't something that isn't like really like a burning question or a burning issue, there's no direction for the work to go. Or if you're not willing to actually say what's not working, then you really cannot be helped or assisted, right? So the first step is to get really honest with yourself. Okay, what are the things that aren't working in your life? What do you want to change? And so I think it's kind of interesting to take the time and actually just write down and take an inventory of every aspect of your life, right? Like, how are you spending your time? Who you're spending your time with? How do you view yourself? What is going on in your relationships? How do you feel about work and income? Everything, like all the different aspects, and the good and the bad, all of it. And I think that, taking the time to do that, you'll see certain things that jump out and maybe even start to see some patterns. And so by being really, really honest with yourself, you're taking the first step of stepping into your truth. And that takes courage. And you're beginning to deepen your own knowing and reconnecting to your own intuition, and you're validating and coming to terms with your current experience. And I think that's also really important. And it can be scary, especially if it's big stuff, like maybe you're in a marriage that it's not working. And to have to really state that it's not working can be kind of scary. But it is the first step of just acceptance of where you are, of what's currently happening, so that you can create a bridge to whatever the next step is, what needs to happen next. And so if we continue to just be in denial and pretend like everything is okay, it's like frosting on a cake that tastes terrible, right? Um, there's struggle to find happiness. You feel like you're stuck in the same place. Um, and you might even just go deeper into your own disconnection and dissatisfaction. It's like time just kind of stands still. Like I feel that life will always eventually. So this is this is kind of what I have found to be true is, consciousness is always evolving. It's always wanting to expand, and you are consciousness. And so when you are avoiding and keeping yourself in denial, there's two choices. You can either transform yourself and grow beyond those limitations in a way that is positive and life affirming, or you keep pushing away, pushing away, pushing away, and boom, life hits you really, really hard. And you have to transform in the quote unquote ugly way, right? Of just having your life be flat out. Like that's kind of what was my experience. Is like, I just kept thinking, oh, I just have to keep, pushing myself, being successful, blah 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 blah, achieve, and gain the acceptance and praise of others. Like that's what I lived for, and it was very unconscious, but that's how I lived, and I was not seeing it, and so life had to come in and really wipe me out. Um, but I don't think it has to be that way. That's why I'm here. I don't want it to be that way for anyone. There's a way to do it that is not quite so difficult and painful. So again, to get honest with yourself, it's to just write everything down. Relationships, finances, friends, family, relationship with yourself, etc. And a great practice to do often is to just sit and get in touch with your own body and really listen. And what is your body telling you? Like, how many times do we push ourselves and beyond where we're disconnecting? Like the will overrides what the body needs, and so to get back in tune with yourself, it's really about coming back to your body, and your body has a lot to say. Your body will tell you. Um, watch your emotions, invite them in to allow yourself to feel your emotions. Um, I've Emotions they're just energy in motion, and if we don't allow them to be felt, again, that's where disease, illness happens. So again, I'm like the example of when I was young, I was not allowed to show anger. Um, I, always put on a smiley face. And over the years, I absorbed a lot of other people's toxicity. So not standing up for myself, absorbing other people's projections, that I kept stuffing my emotions in different parts of my body to where the point that there was no more space for me to stuff anything anymore. And that's when I got really, really sick. So the body, again, the body will tell you I was not listening. So getting in tune with your emotions. And so the places where you could get stuck is you'll start thinking of all the reasons why you can't or shouldn't change. And I will say that this is also very much the subconscious mind wanting to keep you safe. Subconscious is really, really powerful. The brain operates in such a way that it does not want change. It wants to feel safe. And if things have been comfortable, like in the terms of survival, then the mind will start saying things like, oh, that's not going to work, or, you know, no, don't do that, or, whatever. It'll want to hold you back. And then you can start getting caught up in your head and negate what is true for you. So making up excuses or just telling yourself, oh, things aren't that bad, it's okay, like kind of sweeping it under the rug or glossing over it or even like spiritually bypassing things. And the other place is that you end up hiding it and keeping it all to yourself, and you don't share it with anyone, never allowing anyone in to hold you accountable to what it is that you want to change. So again, listing everything holds the mirror to see how serious your situation is. Like what serious in meaning like how charged is it for you? Is there really something that you really need to look at? And so this creates a sense of urgency and knowing that, okay, now is the time to change. And not in the way of forcing. It's not like, because that never works either. So the urgency is just more about like making that decision, a very simple decision of, okay, I want to heal these things, and allow yourself to be in that process. Okay. Okay, so locating the source of problems. So through systemic constellations work or other, family constellations. So the difference, systemic and family constellations, it's the same process. It's just a different, looking at different things. So systemic constellations, just so I can explain, that's like looking at things that maybe are more abstract in a way, like money or fear or anxiety or your purpose, right? These are not human embodied things, but they are definitely, they might be feelings, emotions, ideas. So that's, systemic. Um, Family constellations is actually working with members of your core family and your ancestors. So through this work, we identify where in your own childhood and ancestral lineage, um, where these issues and blocks originated. And because a lot of these blocks some of them are not even your own. So oftentimes, many of our blocks are in our subconscious. So we have to get out of the conscious mind and into the energy body and the knowing field to access it. So the knowing field, I believe there's other names for it, like the Akashic records could be another way of describing it, or just the Indra's net, as the Buddhists call it. It's where everything that's ever happened since the beginning of time is in this knowing field, and we can tap into it. It's all there and available. And this is kind of a stretch for some people that are not, either not into energy healing or not familiar with constellations work. It sounds a little bit out there or unbelievable, but once you actually step into the work and do the process, I guarantee you'll be blown away of what shows up, because inevitably it resonates. so locating the source of the problems, identifying the patterns. So it could be, are you noticing a pattern of self-sabotage in your life? Is there overwhelming self-doubt, low self-esteem? Maybe you always struggle with finances or scarcity. And maybe it's a whole conglomerate of different patterns. Some of them are linked to one another. And there's a word that I've learned in my trainings that sometimes they're called negative geometric configurations. So when these patterns become really, really like they're chronic, they crystallize. It's like a muscle. Like when you go and get a massage and there's like a knot that like it just really hard to break down. Those are and they actually form and link up with one another to kind of create this thing that has kind of like a life of its own. And so anyway, we want to identify what those are and where did they originate. Are these from your childhood? are did your parents pass these, beliefs and patterns down to you, your grandparents beyond, different traumas that maybe happened to members of your family. um, it's been really fascinating to me in doing family constellations work that some of this stuff goes back several generations, maybe in times of war or in times of slavery or, you know, uh, things like that that can actually show up. Even actually, I did a constellation recently where, she was wanting to work on her money issues and was and she knew that a lot of the scarcity had come from her parents who grew up poor and the grandparents. But looking at the lineage, I was able to see that a lot of this, the scarcity was kind of introduced by the Catholic Church, and this idea of that, you know maybe money is evil and you have to tithe to church, and to be poor is to be virtuous, all of those kind of things. So it goes really deep. And so it's really, really hard to move forward in life and overcome these negative patterns without really addressing them directly. Um, it's kind of like, I kind of think of it as pulling up a weed. If you don't really dig up all of the roots, it can just keep coming back and show up in different ways. And again, like this is some of the it's life is what it is. You never there's this The work never stops, right? Things can, even now in my life, I'm like, wow, I'm going kind of through my own transformation and seeing of a bigger pattern that I didn't actually see until really, really recently. But what's helpful is that we have these tools that can help us bring it to the light of consciousness, and when we bring it into the light of consciousness, then they can dissolve and we can consciously let them go. And so when you're able to locate the source of the problem, we can uproot the problem. Um, and just through our intention and healing work, we can resolve these deep energetic blocks and patterns, and we can remove it so that it's just becomes a non-issue. So again, a beautiful example is a constellation I did for a young woman who had a lot of trauma in her family life, and her birth father was never involved in her life. In fact, he denied that she was even her daughter. He didn't believe that she was his birth daughter, and this man lived in the same town, and her whole life she was negated. And we did the work and did the healing sentences, which is something that you would learn and experience in my program. But what ended up happening, which I found really fascinating, is she wrote to me after the constellation. She said, I was able to completely release him. She said, I had been carrying my so much anger toward him my whole life. And the other day, I decided to write him a letter. And she said, I was shocked that at the end of the letter, I said, I love you. And that was it. No, it wasn't that she was trying to make him come back into her life or try to make him acknowledge that she was his daughter, but she was able to release him and allow love to flow within her, and to just acknowledge and just say, thank you for the life that you gave me. You were my father, even though you didn't want to acknowledge that. So it's really pretty profound. And so, yeah, so when we release this stuff, it just literally frees up more life energy within your body. And that's why sometimes with families, constellations work, especially with chronic illness, that some of these illnesses are stemming from um, these what I call the disorders of the patterns of love. Like the order of love gets disrupted in our family patterns, and so when we restore the order of love, sometimes sometimes there is spontaneous healing. Um, all right. And so we know this. If we don't deal with our issues, they keep coming back. Life wants you to grow, and they life wants you to receive the lesson, right? We're supposed to evolve and constantly be expanding. And so if there's something there that's in the way, it's going to keep coming up until we actually address it. So again, it is essential to bring the light of awareness to false beliefs, negative patterns within yourself, to approach it at an energetic level, because once you shift the energy, your conscious awareness will also shift. And this is why I believe that talk therapy, can only go so far. It's helpful to maybe talk about your problems and kind of just get it off your chest, maybe to just air it out, but it doesn't really deal with the energetic part of it. And then, of course, it's essential to trust the process, because healing is never, I've never experienced healing to be linear. It's never A, B, C, D, right? It's always kind of like we're going to start at P and go back to A and then maybe E and so on, right? And so allowing it to happen in an organic sort of way. Um, And so again, you might think to yourself, oh, I already know this stuff. I've talked about this issue for years. I don't need to address it anymore. I can heal it on my own. Um, I really truly believe that we need each other to heal. If we truly didn't need anybody and we could heal everything on our own, then there's really kind of no point of being here on earth. I think that we're meant to be in relationship and be in connection with everything, and to receive each other, give and take. Okay, so I wanted to share a success story. So by working with my mentor and receiving a constellation session, I realized that my childhood conditioning to always submit to authority, even when that authority was out of integrity, was causing me to continually find myself in the same situations over and over again. And so in the constellation session, I was able to then, identify and release it and reclaim my sovereignty, my right to say no, stop giving my power away to people, that or even my, not even necessarily my power, but just even my energy, my time and energy to people that maybe aren't really worthy, right? They're unkind, and to just not engage with those who are completely out of integrity, and just, yeah, finally stop giving away my power and gifts. Um, yeah, totally fascinating. All right, now the third key, reconnecting to your divine feminine energy. So this is the divine feminine is something, it's definitely reawakening on the planet. I feel like I keep hearing about this return to the feminine. And so what does that mean exactly? It to me, it means this state allowing, of allowing and receiving and just allowing ourselves to be. We obviously have been in a patriarchal paradigm for a really long time that is all about domination, control, and it's evident everywhere, right? It's evident in business and in education, and this idea of like always got to be achieving, always got to be doing, got to be overcoming, got to like, and it's exhausting, and that's not, it's out of balance. And so we need to reconnect to our divine femininity, that femininity. Um, so without the divine feminine, we're stuck in a place of constantly doing. And this is why we're feeling burned out in the first place. Actually, it's interesting. I was just speaking with my friend today, my co-teacher, and she was telling me about her husband. And she says, oh my gosh, yeah, he's a structural engineer. And she says he's absolutely miserable because he works all day. Then the kids come home, they have dinner, puts the kids to bed, and then he goes back to and does more work until like 11 o'clock at night. And he's not sleeping, he's exhausted, and I don't know, I guess this is corporate culture. I'm not really sure why that is. It sounds like he needs to either ask for his boss to back off, or I don't know what, but it's a common theme, right? And as women, we do that too, even though like maybe our jobs are different, but even just we have this idea that being feminine means that we tend like, oh, we take care of the children in the home. That's still doing, right? Taking the kids here and cleaning the house, and maybe you're working, and it's just the state of constantly doing. And so we've got to find our way back with the divine feminine, and that is just doing things like Trudy, like you were saying, you went for a beautiful walk, you know spending time in nature, um, just giving yourself the space to just be without an agenda of trying to become something or attain something. you know it's the state of allowing. And so this state of allowing and resting and kind of tuning in is what helps you reconnect to your own intuition, right? So knowing, what are my boundaries, establishing clearer boundaries, um, to be more loving. Like when our well is full, naturally we have more to give. But if we're overdoing and burnt out, there's no space to be loving. There's no desire to be loving. And then you also learn how to surrender and trust more fully. A lot of the reasons why we just keep doing and doing and doing is because we don't trust. We don't have faith in life. There's a fear that, we're going to get swallowed up by who knows what. um, and also by connecting with the divine feminine, you'll just attract and manifest what you want more effortlessly. Because if you're always pushing and always doing, there's no space for receiving. Um, and so if we keep pushing away the divine feminine, you'll continue to feel insecure and seek validation outside of yourself. You'll continue to be maybe critical of yourself and others, unable to control your emotions, be inauthentic, and continue to have weak boundaries. And so if you actually take the time to get in right relationship with the divine feminine, you heal your relationship with your body, like actually listening to it and actually allow your body to heal. Um, we even approach our bodies many times in a very masculine way, and this like, oh, I have to fix it. Okay. Oh, something's wrong with it. Okay, I'm gonna like make myself do this, and this, and get on this routine. And then we like overdo. And it's like sometimes the simplest thing can be just to rest or incorporate a really gentle meditation routine, or whatever. Um, so yeah, having that right relationship with the divine feminine allows your body to heal. um, Give yourself time to just be, trust your intuition, find time for introspection, heal your sexuality, and express yourself and your creativity. Because that's also an aspect of the divine feminine, is just the creative energy. The feminine is naturally creative and expressive. And so if you're not receiving the gifts of the divine feminine, it means that you're still overdoing. You're giving more than you're receiving. You're not giving yourself enough time to play, and you're too attached to your old ways of being. So when I really began to trust my divine feminine, meaning my intuition, my empathic sensitivity, my body, then the more my relationship began to deepen, which is continuing continuing learning. Um, so be true to your divine feminine so that you can be in your true abundance, true generosity, and true fullness of being. Okay, so key number 4. So again, we're talking about uncovering the brilliance of you. And so the key 4 is to create that vision. And so Trudy, you and I have tapped into this, talking about the soul blueprint. Like we all have a soul blueprint that is unique to us in our life here on earth that we came in with and have a connection with. And sometimes we get disconnected from our soul blueprint because maybe sometimes the mind overrides what really lives in our heart. And usually the signs that you're disconnected from it is where you just don't really have a lot of joy. And so in order to have a vision, you want to be connected to your soul blueprint, because your soul blueprint creates all the things that you deeply, deeply desire to experience in your life. And you want your vision to be in alignment with that. You'll, reclaim your gifts and talents. So that also is a benefit of connecting with your soul blueprint, is just naturally having more access to what's already innate within you. You need to be willing to be seen if you have a vision. Sometimes that's scary for some of us because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be rejected. And so sometimes we don't even ever share our vision because we just don't want to be ridiculed. But the sad thing is that, you're here for a reason. I believe that we're here for a reason, a very unique, specific reason. Each one of us are needed and part of this huge, divine plan that's unfolding here on the planet. And so we have to be willing to be seen, to put ourselves out there. Maintaining a daily routine to keep you focused. That's super important in order to create the vision. Otherwise, you'll just lack the discipline to have that focus. And then actually really doing the things, like taking real action steps. So instead of just having it living inside of you, but to actually start to create it, co-create with the universe and bringing it into 3D. So if you're not holding a vision for yourself, again, we talked about the subconscious mind, it'll just want you to stay in your own comfort zone and like, don't go there. It doesn't want you to go there because it's like it fears that there's danger. It's there to keep you alive and to keep you in survival. And so, yeah, it's very important to be willing to step out of our comfort zones just a little, a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And so if you don't have a vision for yourself, then you'll not be able, you won't be able to sustain the commitment and consistency that is needed in order to create the life that you really want. So this visioning actually lives within our imaginations. Our imaginations are powerful, and it's important to have these images, to live into these images daily. And it's not about trying to live in the future. That's not what I'm talking about, pining for the future. It's really about really feeling that your vision is already here, that you know what it is that you're here to create. And so in my Reignite Your Life program, I talk about that and talk about the power of imagination and what it takes to then actually begin to manifest things in your life. And so having a vision is all about creating clear pictures that are inspiring and motivating. And sometimes if we have, a negative Nancy in our brain that has a bad habit of always telling you why you can't have what you want, it might take some time to get those clear pictures running on a consistent basis. But it's really important to just keep holding those clear pictures, even because there can be this sort of tension between, because when you're just starting out, there is a gap, and sometimes you'll get stuck with, oh, it's not happening, this isn't working, all the negative thoughts start to come in. And so it's just, you really have to trust and believe in your pictures and your visioning. um, Having a vision will connect you with your why. Well, why are you choosing to create this particular life? Who's it for? Why is it important? If you don't have a why, then again, there's just not enough fuel to push you, to inspire you to want to move and take action. Um, Having a vision will also help you have create an overarching roadmap of your goals, having the focus and the motivation. Okay. Um, excuse me. I forget to get a lot of water for myself. If you fail to connect to your vision of what it is that you want to create, you'll never be able to move past where you are now, and you'll always return to your default again. That subconscious mind is powerful, and you'll begin to lose sight of what it is that you want to manifest, and then the distractions can throw you off track. And you can fall into the danger of comparing your life to others, which is miserable. So, a well thought out vision creates a life that feels exciting, inspiring, creates energy, um, clarity, and confidence about your path and your purpose that you've never experienced before. So, I can speak for myself in that, 3 years ago, I knew that I wanted to bring my gifts into the world in a different way. I spent many, many years teaching in young children, but now I have this strong, strong desire to step more into my healing work. And I can tell you that it is not easy, but because one, I'm connected to my soul blueprint. Secondly, like I just have this knowing, like, this is what I'm meant to do, right? Um, I'm inspired by it. And so I'm able then to just stay focused, um, and not get derailed by when challenges come. And, life, again, nothing moves in a straight line. There's always going to be challenges. But when you are connected to your why and you're connected to your vision, then it fuels itself, right? And there's a steadiness that's there and an equanimity. Um, so gaps are likely everywhere in your vision. They always are. I know that when I had this vision of thinking, oh, I want to do this, but then you start doing it, and sometimes it means, oh, I have to pivot, or I need to, try different things. And so you need to build an energetic grid system that supports its manifestation. And what that means is just basically, like, we only have so much time in a day, right? And we have our different routines. And so when you're starting to create something new for yourself, that means, like, okay, an energetic grid system. Like, if you think of the synapses in the brain, um, they found, like, even looking at young children, the children that get the most stimulation, the connections in their brain are much stronger than, say, a child that maybe isn't paid attention to. So when you're doing something new, sometimes those connections or that grid system isn't um, strong yet, but over time, by gaining clarity, by kind of mapping out, okay, what is it, what is my morning routine? What am I going to do on a day-to-day basis? What is it, what does that look like? Then that grid system will begin to strengthen over time. So, creating tangible goals, creating clear pictures, anchoring in consistency, having a real strategy, and then, of course, you got to have faith and trust in yourself, because self-doubt is, you know, it's a tough one. It will always want to, bring you down, or, make you second guess yourself. I had a client, and it was really beautiful to watch. Um, she was a photographer, or she loved photography, and she was in her, I believe she's in her 50s, maybe early 60s, and never really created anything for herself. She's married, she had a husband who made enough money to where she didn't really have to work necessarily. But as maybe some of you know, life can feel pretty flat if you don't have a purpose, even if life is very physically comfortable. If we're not, expressing ourselves, it just, I know that for myself, life just feel, you can fall into depression. And so she was at a point where she really, really felt really clearly, I want to contribute something. I know I don't have to. My husband makes enough money, but I really, really want to, because I just want to know for myself if I can do it. Like, that was the thing for her. She just wanted to see for herself if she could do it. And so this was really a gift to herself. It was not for anyone else. It wasn't for her husband, it wasn't for her family. She wanted to take and begin to showcase her gifts. Um, and she was really, really shy about it. So again, this for her to actually show up and present herself into the world felt really, really scary. And the reason why she signed up for my program, my 13, it's a 13 session program, that before she could actually start her photography business, she knew that she needed to have the right mindset. She knew that she had to heal some things within herself before she could actually go and do it. She knew herself well enough that these other patterns were going to get in the way. And so I thought I had to applaud her. I thought, well, that's brilliant. Um, and so we dove into her core family, her ancestral lineage. Um, and once we, cleared these limiting beliefs that she had, one of the main ones is that she realized she had a brother who was, I forget what he had, but he was um, he was disabled, and had some mental retardation, and so her whole life she felt like she couldn't outshine she didn't want to outshine her older brother. She felt guilty, like, oh, if I outshine, or if actually, it would be taking away from him. And um and it was a beautiful constellation, and so there was a lot that was released there, and so it helped her to really gain clarity, helped her to actually receive her gifts, and give her the confidence that she needed to step into her vision. And as we went through the 13 sessions, it just became clearer and clearer as to what she needed to do, what was her next step in order to build her business. And so some of you are here, not maybe necessarily because you want to build a business. So it doesn't, that's an example. It might just be that um, maybe the deeper issue is really wanting to create, a loving relationship with your partner, or maybe you're looking for a partner, or, I don't know. It doesn't matter what the vision is, whatever it is. Um, there's ways to anchor it in. All right, so key number 5 is investing in a transformational coach who, in my mind, marries the energy healing with the transformational coaching, is able to hold a strong, sacred, solid container for you to be able to completely unwind and rewire. So I can tell you, I have worked with a couple of really terrible coaches who I did not feel held. They were not able to hold the container. Like they were scattered in their own lives. And I can tell you, it felt in some ways re-traumatizing. So you really want to be careful about who you look to work with, because you want to make sure, like, okay, this someone is going to be able to really hold space for me, right? Otherwise, it's going to, because that's the number one key. You got to feel safe with them. Um, Also, you want to invest in someone who has the years, the skills, and experience to be able to facilitate the deep level soul healing. I feel like there's a lot of coaches out there who like have taken a 1-year course or less and are like, you know, come work with me. And they maybe don't really have the deeper wisdom and experience. And no one heals and transforms on their own. I know I didn't. Honestly, I would not be who I am without so many people in my life who showed up and supported me and held space for me and guided me. You need someone in your corner to help you process your fears and your struggles. Holding a safe container for your healing process, someone who can celebrate the wins with you. It's always super important to sell, because if you don't celebrate the wins, then it's like nothing's happening, right? You want to have someone be able to say, hey, look, I noticed like you've actually shifted. That is so validating and supportive. Um, Also to keep you accountable, are you staying on track? And then just to be the lighthouse that illuminates your path to success. You want someone who isn't doing the work for you, but is just showing you the way and showing you that you have everything that you need inside of yourself. Because really, ultimately, yes, you are doing the healing. The facilitator or the coach is just creating the right environment and insight for you to be able to see what it is that you need to see. So a good healer or coach helps you navigate your path, offers guidance, and keeps you accountable. And then a great transformational energy healer and coach will also bring her spiritual gifts of healing to the table so you can quantum leap into a new reality that's in alignment with the real you. Um, Oops. Okay, so if you try to solve your problems on your own, which you can try, it'll just take you longer, um, and a lot of guesswork, and you might feel more fear and uncertainty and doubt that will hold you back. You might even just give up completely and just kind of go, kind of settle for less, and you'll lose the belief that you can become happy and confident and empowered. Okay, so today I promised I would show you the 5 keys to aligning to your authentic self and a life that lights you up. And follow what I showed you, and you will wake up in the morning with a sense of purpose and a drive that doesn't need any pushing or force. This is really key. I cannot stand, and there's so much of it out there. Coaches and programs that have this like hustle attitude, that to me feels exhausting, and definitely not how I work. and definitely not something that I'm interested in. And you'll experience the fulfillment of living your soul's deep desires and the joy that comes with expressing your light-filled purpose. Okay, so you're at a choice point, and hopefully this just brings some light um, to some things that you feel inspired to do. Um, I wanted to share just a little bit about my Reignite Your Life program, and so this is kind of like a precursor. These 5 keys are all kind of addressed in my program. Now, I ran it as a beta program last year, and I've had 4 women complete it, and one's almost done. And it's been amazing. The amount of transformation that I've seen in these women has really, it's just incredible. And I can't, really, I can attribute it towards the power of family constellations work. Um, working with energy healing, and their own commitment to wanting change. So when I first offered the program, it was 13 weeks, so once a week meeting. But I found that was kind of intense, actually. And so I've changed it to where it's still 13 sessions. So instead of 13 weeks, it's 13 sessions. So it lasts 6 months. So every 2 weeks, spacing it out for time for integration between sessions, because there's a lot that comes up. And yeah, and so if you're interested in learning more about that program, you can book a free 45-minute discovery session. You can just DM me on Facebook or send me an email. This is the link to the Calendly. And we'll just, it's just a space for you to share what's going on, what's not working, and why. Get you to have a moment to kind of just really get in touch with your body and locate your true feelings, identify some core issues, talk a little bit about, well, what is your vision? What is it that you want to create? And if it seems like I'm a fit or that we resonate, you can become one of my clients in my Reignite Your Life program, which right now I'm offering at a discount. So again, this program, the Reignite Your Life program, is not for women who just who are looking for someone to do the work for them, who like to complain and make excuses as to why they don't show up, that like to whine and complain, who are looking for a quick fix for the next fad rather than the real transformation. Um, Yeah, and I can say that I've had clients in the past where rather than doing the work, they just want a sounding board. And it's like, well, if you're paying me this much money to just be your sounding board, that's fine, but it's not going to get you the transformation that you're wanting, right? So it's like at some point you have to like be open to receive. And so the reason I created the Reignite Your Life program is just I really believe that empower women. I just think from what I see in the world, like women are rising up. Women are here to heal the earth and each other. And I think the more women there are that are empowered and in their authentic self, then the brighter our future will be on this planet. And so um, I truly believe that we can all experience true freedom and peace that comes with loving and embracing who you really are. And so I want to help you make the greatest impact and to help you stop feeling like you're burning the candle at both ends, and to stop the overdoing, the overreaching, and overseeing, and actually receive what truly creates miracles. So if you allow me to support you, we'll walk you through exactly what I do to create profound transformational shifts for my clients. You'll experience massive personal growth. You'll have profound awakenings and realizations. You'll deepen your own connection to your own tuition, your own knowing, your own empowerment. My desire is not to bring clients that are um, dependent upon me. I want to empower people to stand on their own and move beyond me, beyond my help. Um, you'll gain back your confidence and belief in yourself. I have seen this. You'll see things in your outer life begin to shift and change, and you'll be held accountable to do work that creates results, and you'll receive full support and feedback, so you're not having to try to figure it out all alone. Okay. Oh, now here I said 60 minutes. You can tell my slides have some mistakes. But yeah, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. Those are the free discovery sessions. And I love this quote by Heather Ash Mara: change is inevitable, but transformation is by conscious choice. So again, that goes back to, we can choose our transformation and engage with it in a way that feels empowering and good, and even though it might be hard, it's positive. Or we can let life whip us about and force us into change that does not feel good. It feels really, really hard. So, and I think that's the end. So I'll stop the share and I'll just open up to you ladies for questions. If you have any questions, thank you so much, by the way, for being here and listening. And yeah, any insights or ahas, or this feel like, yeah, I already know all this stuff, or I'm just curious. I'll just open it up to. It's interesting. This is only my second time doing this webinar, and I have to say, the second time I'm like, oh, even I'm like seeing things in a different light. So I'm curious, Trudy, if you've kind of felt that way.
For sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's all really making so much sense. All right. Like, it does just make so much sense. But yeah, I definitely pick on things that I wouldn't have before. I think before some of our sessions, and I guess what it does is just reminds me of all of these things that are so important to do, and how it's so easy to fall into old patterns and whatnot. So actually, I mean, the program that you're talking about, the Reignite Your Life, really does make so much sense to have all of those pieces of it to support, so that you can figure out where you're going and then support to go there.
Yeah. And I've often kind of gone back and forth, like, oh, do I offer it as a group program, or I just keep it one-on-one? But I just feel like each person is so unique, and when we talk about healing being this path that doesn't have rhyme or reason, especially when you do family constellations work, things can come up just way out of left field. And how can you address that in a program, in a group program, where it's like, okay, we're going to take you through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everybody's going to go along with it. And I mean, that's, to me, not to invalidate group programs. I'm sure there's a lot of value in them, but for this one, it's like, okay, again, each person is so unique, and everybody has their own story and their own patterns. And I just love the one-on-one work to just really go deep. And with the one-on-one work, there's no hiding. Whereas like maybe in a group program, you can kind of just sit in the back and never raise your hand and never ask for help. And, so yeah, yeah. But I'm
Well,
glad.
and I guess I was just going to say that's something that I guess I assumed that some of the sessions were group, or that there were some group components. And so, I mean, that's extra amazing that it's truly one-on-one. That's what you're saying, one-to-one,
Yeah,
each
yeah.
part.
Well, yeah, and I had done, yeah, it's kind of, well, I did kind of put out there an email. I thought about doing group coaching combined with one-on-one. And then I kind of just went back to, I'm just going to go back to the one-on-one only because I've done it. I've taken these 4
Mhm.
women through it. I see that it works. And no, I don't know, maybe down the line I would do a combination of, but I just think that um, to me, that just makes the most sense. If I were to do a group coaching program, maybe it would be more teaching rather than actual doing the healing work. Although, yeah, we'll see. I have all kinds of ideas that I still have percolating in my mind, but I think if there was going to be like a group program, I envision that as like a family constellations workshop format where once a month we do constellations work together, you know.
Mm.
Um, so anyway, but yeah, sorry, I'm kind of rambling.
No, that's cool. Like personally, I know for myself that the individual program has more appeal. And the reason is I have been in some group programs where I do feel like everyone else's gifts and intuition and the amount of work that they've done and whatnot is more than I don't know, has them at a more advanced place than I am, where
Mm,
I am.
yeah,
And so I am one of those that
it's intimidating. Yeah,
yep. I get
yeah.
intimidated. Yeah.
Oh, totally. I've been in one of those where I just felt like, you know, it was a business coaching program, and I'm like, I'm just starting out, and some of these women were, they're making, I don't know, their business to me. I was like, wow, their businesses are doing great. Why do they feel like they need coaching? But it was like, oh gosh, I'm afraid to say like who I am and what I'm trying to do, and I'm just starting out, and maybe I should just sit back and just listen. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
intimidating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Gladys, did you have any questions or comments? Yeah, you just have to unmute.
There. I really hope that your workshop at the end of April still goes ahead.
Yeah, me too.
I'd really like to participate in that. Your presentation today, plus what Trude had to say, really helps me understand exactly, what you're working with and the soul blueprint and things that affect us from our ancestors or from generations before us. So all that for sure.
Mhm.
Not gonna consciously know what's going on. So
Yeah,
I see how your work is very, very valuable. I
yeah,
don't have a question. I just appreciate your giving these free presentations so we know more and more of what you're doing and how valuable it is. And
great. Yeah, well, thank you, Gladys. Yeah, I do hope that the family constellation workshop happens at the end of April. I'm crossing my fingers. We'll see. But yes, hopefully it does happen. And yeah, I hope you both enjoy the rest of your evening. And again, thank you so much for showing up and allowing me to share. And yeah, I just appreciate your time and your presence. So
And
Thank
thank you
you.
for sharing it. And you have so much wisdom to share, and you do it so generously. So thank you.
thank you,
Yeah,
Judy.
I totally agree with that. So thank you, Tanya.
Thanks, Gladys. All right, we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.